Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy Unchosen, and here today we are going for a 7 Days to Die for Beginners route, just to help you guys, if you're struggling in the early game, need a little bit of tips to figure out how to really, quote-unquote, optimize the early game, so that way your first 7 days aren't as much of a struggle. I got you. First thing we're going to do, get this intro quest done out of the way. Get your stone axe, the wood club, the bow, etc. It's easy, it's a good, you'll spend the first, 5 minutes, maybe, if that, doing this quest. Or this quest line here just to get them done. Opens up the trader route. Be great. Now, typically in the beginning, you do want to try and figure out what weapon works best for your playstyle, because you got the wooden club, stone sledgehammer, stone spear. You can get a bone knife and a pipe baton, but those are a little bit further down the line, so I would stick between the first 3 craftable ones there of the sledgehammer, club, and spear. Depends on how much you want to do. Spear's got good range, club's got decent damage, with minimal stamina cost. Sledgehammer does a lot of damage, but costs a lot of stamina, so it's kind of the trade-off you gotta take here. Now, as you can see in the early game, I did decide to loot that house that was spawned right next to. I highly recommend just loot, loot, loot. Get everything you possibly can. You'll get a little bit of XP, and you'll start really just pushing through as much as you can. It helps out so much. Plus, like you can see here, I'm getting some zombie kills. That 400 XP just keeps bumping that XP bar up and up and up and up. But focus the loot, get your skill points up. Now we're going to go into skill points in a little bit here, because obviously there's 5 different skill trees you can invest in. The first skill tree that I highly recommend investing your points into is agility, because you can get into the parkour perk early, and that is going to be a huge asset to go for the entirety of the game. Because parkour level 2, you'll get an additional block of jump height. It's so good. But unfortunately you have to get agility to level 4 to get level 2. So I would just recommend put those 3 points into agility to get it up to level 4, put a point into parkour 1, and run it. Now obviously, as you can see here, we're doing a lot of looting. Just like I said, scoop everything. You're going to go to the trader anyway. Sell it. If you got excess, just dump it on them. Get the cash. Now as you can see there, we did pick up a book there, the Fireman's Almanac. It's not the best of books, because it's only 10% more damage to coal and burnt wood. Helpful if you go to the burned forest, but not so much in this early phase here. And as you can see here, we are checking apart this tree stump. If you do see these, take them apart, break them down. You can get a chance to get a jar of honey out of them, and it'll cure 5% of your infection, which just takes a flat 5% out. And if you're under 5%, it just completely wipes out the infection, which is always nice. Now here we're coming up on Trader Rect, who, he's going to call you some obscenities. You got to get used to it. He's an old man. But he will give you a stone shovel when you first talk to him, and you'll get the Intro to Buried Supplies quest. These quests aren't too difficult, but the only issue also comes down to the shovel is going to tear apart your stamina, so it's going to take it quite a bit in the early game if you don't invest in the mining perks. So just bear that in mind. I would personally avoid doing the buried supplies. It's just because this one is the intro job. You have to do it. So I would just, bite the bullet, do this one, get it out of the way. You'll probably spend, just as long doing this one quest as you did doing the entirety of the intro quest. But they'll get easier as you go along. And as you can also tell, the top layer, the very top layer, has 50 extra hit points compared to the lower layers. As you can see, I was breaking apart at 250. Lower one has 200. If you're looking to mine clay in the future, try to stay to that, as soon as you get past the top layer, stick to that lower layer. You yield the same amount of clay between the both layers, but you'll end up getting more clay sticking to the lower layer, just because it has that little bit less of hit points to work with. As you can see, there's the chest for the buried supplies. This intro one, sometimes it's alright. This one, I usually, I don't keep the sham sandwiches or rotten meat in the early game, so we literally just got a bottle of murky water for our efforts. And these buried supplies also spawn in some zombies afterwards. Sometimes they can spawn in zombies during the job, but like I said, I don't typically take these jobs because it's just more hassle in the early game. But for this intro job here, you're going to go back to the trader with that trunk you picked up that was in there, that little chest-looking thing. You will get the option between these 5 bundles here. I highly recommend going the pipe machine gun bundle or the pipe pistol. The pipe baton is a melee weapon. The pipe rifle and shotgun are single-shot weapons, so they're not the best to work with. But it is what it is. Next job we're going to take on here is a clear job. But before we do that, obviously, you got to take advantage of the trader. Get the money, get the loot. As you can see here, I pop open the pipe machine gun bundle. I already had one, but I'm just going to sell the one I had back to him because it's damaged. Might as well take the full health one. Something to note, when you are doing, if you are selling weapons to the trader, If you played the old console build when weapons used to be, like, they would come with a clip of ammo in them so you could take them apart, get extra bullets out of it, now they come unloaded to start. So that's why I got that 15 bullets extra, like, from the actual job itself there. Or, like, from that little crate. But also to keep in mind, you can loot the traders' compounds. You can't destroy any blocks or take anything apart, but you can go through and loot everything. Like, you see this small pile of liquor here, got trash, got different things. There are some work. Every trader does also have the 4 default workstations in their destroyed state. So the workbench, the chem station, the forge, cement mixer, they have all of those. They all also have 2 vending machines. One sells foods and candies, like you see here, the cans of soups and these different candies. Sugar Butts, huge value candy. If you're selling a lot to the trader, that 10% boost can give you a ton of cash. Second vending machine always sells drinks, so you'll have like your teas, waters, coffees. Sometimes you'll see Mega Crushes like you saw in there. Sometimes there's Grandpa's Forgetting Elixir. Sometimes there's a Learning Elixir. Those are nice to have, but, you know, in the early game I wouldn't prioritize rushing those. But, yeah, definitely something to keep in mind. If you do need food and drink and can't get any yourself, definitely want to make sure you're checking out those vending machines when you got coin. Now here, we have the cement mixer, which 9 times out of 10, these cement mixers will have a Forge Ahead book in them. These are worth their weight in gold. One piece of advice, if you're going to read the Forge Aheads, stop reading them once they get to level 15. There's a perk I'm going to show you guys that'll help you get more Forge Ahead books, so you can keep getting the workstation books. It is so handy to have, and you will probably have the workbench, or like the workstation books done, I would assume probably by day 21 if you're regularly looting, but you can absolutely pop off and get just so much out of it. It's worth it. But yeah, definitely make sure jobs, loot the trader stations here, and just go. The job count you get in a day, you're only allowed to do 4 jobs at most completed. So that's like getting the rewards for the jobs in a day. But here we are now at the clear quest, which, one thing to note with these jobs is you can actually technically double loot the POI if you want to. You could literally tear the building down all the way to dirt. Everything will rebuild. Like, as you can see now, the vehicle has changed. We had a van there before, now it's a pickup truck. That charcoal grill we just looted and got a little bit out, got some bones out of, now it's back and lootable again. That cooler we destroyed, it's back so we can get more plastic. And one thing to also note, yes, get as much plastic as you can. It's going to help you a lot in the early game because you need 100 pieces of plastic to make a dew collector, which we'll go over in a little while there. As you can see here, we killed the vulture. I recommend if you want to speed, kind of speed through harvesting animals, do a quick look away, start the power attack with the knife, and then look back at the animal. It harvests way faster than if you try to do the power, you can still do the power attack looking at the body, but it's way faster to do it looking, look away, look down, just do a quick flick between the two. You'll save a ton of time. Trust me, you'll thank me for it later. But yeah, in terms of everything, like I said, I get a lot of feathers. I keep at least the bow and arrow on hand, just so that way you have some range, because feathers are fairly abundant. Another thing to keep in mind, you will see sometimes POIs will have these locked wall safes or gun safes. Higher level POIs will have hardened chests you can try to get into. Lockpicking is a thing you need to do. I would definitely recommend keeping lockpicks on hand if you find them. You can craft them at a certain point, but personally, I recommend you'll find a lot in loot, so just go with that. Now, something to note here is there are, not vehicle mods, but, mods for your armor and all the things you can use. That mod right there is godsend in the early game, because that mod, the water purifier mod, you can drink murky water, whether it's in the bottle or in the river, in a ditch. You will not have any of the negative effects when you put that mod on your helmet and drink. So definitely worth it. I'm not doing it right now just because I have the helmet light mod, so you guys can see what's going on in some of these darker POIs. But it definitely is worthwhile to get. Another thing to note while you're going through POIs, you saw it pretty quick there, that red key hanging on the wall there. Sometimes they'll be marked on the jobs to help progress, but those keys will open some locked doors that'll let you keep going further through a POI. And as you kind of saw there, those job rewards were not the best. They're kind of hit or miss sometimes with the job rewards. Usually I take ammo, or 9 times out of 10, I'm going to take the, if they have a crafting skill magazine bundle, those are really good, which we'll get into that in a little bit. But we're doing another job here. This one is a retrieve the supplies quest. We typically call them the fetch quest, 'cause that's what they're labeled as. I typically lean towards doing those because you don't need to loot the entire POI. You don't need to kill every zombie if you're kind of just wanting to breeze through jobs and get them done quick. All you need to do is go into this POI, grab grab a little like the satchel similar to what you saw when we did the buried supplies quest. Grab it, go. All you gotta do. You don't need to kill nothing, don't need to loot nobody. Easy enough. Something to also note, as you can see here, I'm going through and you saw that I was locking inventory slots. You can do that to keep inventory from going into the chest if you dump everything all at once. So if there's stuff you want to keep, it makes life just that much easier. And as you can see up here now, Mo has actually left us a nice little loot bag here. Get a couple armored up books. Those loot bags are not common to drop from zombies, at least certain types, but they are definitely worth looting. When you see them, it's free loot. Free loot, little XP, usually get a couple of books, some ammo, food and meds. But yeah, here's that courier satchel we need for the supply quest. And take that back to Rect or whatever trader you took the job from. Easy clap. Just get in here, give them that satchel. You'll get the rewards. Here's the crafting skill magazine bundle. This, I always go towards this because you get 6 books. And it is so good. Because you'll get 6 books split evenly between 3 different, like, skills of sorts. It's kind of random. As you can see here, we got sledgehammer books, we got tool crafting book, and we got a shotgun book set, which... not the best, not the worst. I mean, the shotguns and sledgehammers obviously go towards my playstyle that I'm going with right now. But, yeah, definitely very, very nice. Another thing to note, as you're playing through the game, you're going to see these challenges you'll be completing as you go along the way. I recommend trying to clear as many as you can. You don't need to do it as early as possible, because you're going to get a lot as you play anyway. But definitely, if you can focus them, great. If not, like I said, don't stress. You'll probably hit the goals no matter what. Now here, as you can see, we are getting the dew collector, which this is why I recommended getting as much plastic parts as you can early on, because this costs 100 plastic, 4 pipes, 4 duct tape. Duct tape's usually a little bit trickier to find in the early game, but as you get to the mid to late game, you'll start to really see a bit more of it. But the dew collector, I recommend as soon as you're able to get this thing put down, after you've read 1 workstation book. 1 forge head book gives you dew collector, get that thing placed. ASAP. Because this thing will start producing murky water. It is slow as can be, though. So I would say, like, usually after a full day, usually, like, within, like, a half a day, you'll get 3 murky waters. If you don't put any of the mods into the dew collector, which isn't terrible, but I definitely recommend if you can get more than 1, go for it. You absolutely should. There's no reason to just push it off any further. But as you can see here, I'm kind of just doing a little bit of busy work, trying to get some tools made, get some, like, you know, upgrade my weapons a little bit. So there's nothing too crazy. But yeah, definitely, as you can see, dew collector is down there. So... yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Unchosen, back for day 2 of 7 Days to Die for Beginners. Now, kind of skipping a little bit ahead from where we left off, because you don't need to see the whole nighttime here. But looking at 7 Days to Die in the early game, nighttime, you don't want to do anything too crazy. Like, don't go pick any fights. We'll look at that cop car in a little while, because I'll make a stupid move on that later on. But typically at night here, what you want to do is you'll want to focus on crafting. As you know, if you want to craft anything like, you know, need arrows, if you want to try and build up a base, get like building blocks and stuff ready, do that sort of stuff. You can also work on jobs if you have any that you can do overnight. So as long as in the bottom left corner you don't see a red exclamation mark with a slash through it, you're still able to work on jobs like during that day. Otherwise, you can kind of do like what I'm doing here, is just picking off a couple of zombies, get a little bit extra XP. You know, I typically, during the night, if I'm not crafting or cooking, I'll probably look around with the bow, see if there's a couple of nearby zombies like this, get a little bit of hits on them, just to get a little extra XP, put some skill points out there, make some things happen. Other things you can do is working on defense, doing things like that. Hunting animals is also a valid option. As you can see here, I ran around, did a little bit more stuff, and, you know, happened to see a deer just strolling through right in front of the base. So why not? And as you can see here, yeah, that's the value of looking away and doing a power attack as opposed to trying to normally harvest the animal. So nice, quick, and easy. And while usually when I go to leave and like do things for the day, I'll get the campfire prepped with any waters, foods, anything I don't really need at the moment. Get it prepped, so that way when you come back later, it's good to go. Sometimes I'll do it. This time, clearly, I was not thinking. But we're going to go do a whole bunch of jobs today because we still need that bicycle. Get everything done for that. So as you can see here, just finished doing a clear quest that we picked up in the last video. And what is a little bit annoying is you only get, if you leave the settings at default, you get 4 jobs a day to work on. I really debated going for that Forge Ahead book, but I decided the crafting skill bundle is just too good. And since I did finish the homesteading challenge off, like either in the last video or in between, I decided, you know what, these rewards aren't the best, but you know, the automatic weapons book is nice, because that's good long-term to keep your weapons from degrading faster. You know, nice and slow that down by 20%, so take it as you will. But, like I said, crafting skill magazine bundle, that's way more important. And here we go on another job to get a tier 1 fetch, and just grab the courier satchel, bring it on back to Wrecked. Ain't got nothing to worry about at that point, just easy, bang these jobs out. Nothing crazy. We're getting closer to the bike, so that's what counts. Now here, I was tempted between the Molotovs and the Cobblestone. I personally would go Cobblestone, but if you want to be more offensive, take the Molotovs, because you can use them for throwables for damage. Cobblestone I take because in a future video, probably day 4 or 5, we'll go through trying to build like an early beginner base, so you guys can hopefully make it through the first tour without too many issues. Here we go on another job. It's another fetch quest. Shocker. But in this fetch quest, we actually did get a weapons mod here, as you can see, you know, the little gear icon next to that little grip. That grip is typically best used on like a bow, because it does have that secondary effect of increasing bow handling by 10% as well as decrease melee stamina usage. I typically just throw that on pretty much every tool, because that 10% stamina usage can be very, very handy. So you might as well get the use out of it. Now here, I do decide to go with the lockpicks. Again, you see those Molotovs. Tech Junk, that specific Tech Junkie would be good if you're running the baton build and get up to the stun baton, because having that chance to have it instantly charged makes the stun baton actually worth using. But otherwise, yeah, we don't really need to do too many crazy things here. I'm just going to go get another job, get this clear quest, bing, bang, boom. Now here, this loot box, this little mailbox, that book, worth its weight in gold. That $100 undervalues it. Getting honey from just regular trees instead of having to go to tree stumps to find it, infinitely worth it. Because that is what really, like, if you start farming trees, you're gonna be you'll be getting honey in no time. Because I recommend setting up the tree farm. Now that you have that book, just crank it out. Boom, boom, boom. I want to say it's within the first 5 to 6 swings of the axe is usually when you'll find the honey, but I still recommend chopping the tree down. And here you go. Clear the area quest. Done. Go back to Wrecked. Easy clap. Now you can see that red exclamation with the slash going through it. That'll tell us that we can take this job. Like, you're allowed to take the jobs. You just can't work on more jobs unless you change that default setting. It's a little annoying that default is only 4, but, you know, that's fine. It took up about a little more than half the day. So we got some good loot. Pushed a lot of stats further down the line, which is very, very nice. So, now the next thing we're going to really be looking into here is cooking. You know, a little more in-depth, as here, since we have that water purifier mod, I'll show you guys the value of it, which unfortunately this helmet only has 1 slot, so you can see I got to switch out the helmet light mod for a little bit, but since we still got some daylight, it's not the biggest worry in the world. But you can just go over here. If you have a water purifier mod, you can put it in the helmet, go over to a ditch here, and just start slurping up the water. You see there's also a challenge for doing it. This way, you finish the challenge, you don't take damage, you don't get dysentery. It's just perfect that way. Now here, I'm going to be making some goldenrod and red teas. That is honestly how I recommend you guys use the water, because while the base water is not terrible, it is obviously good for strictly getting hydration. Red tea is going to make it so your food and water last longer throughout the day. If you end up getting dysentery from, like, if you have to absolutely, you know, eat something or drink something that is just not going to be sanitary, like, you know, raw meat, murky waters, goldenrod tea will help cure that dysentery in a similar way to the infection, where it'll take a percentage of it away. Obviously, if you catch it early enough and don't overdo the dysentery, you can clear that out. Make it nice, quick, painless. But yeah, I recommend making as many of the different teas and drinks as you can. Now here, when you get raw meat, I would recommend holding on to it until you get the grilled meat recipe. Simply because grilled versus charred meat, it's a bit of a debate in the early game. I recommend going grilled meat simply because it's the same as charred, but you don't have that dehydration effect. So it's nice. You do get a little stamina bonus too, so that also helps. Now here, I'm going to give you guys the warning while I break into this. Do not do this in the early game unless you are prepared to run like hell. Because, as you can see, we got cops, we got soldiers. They're feral, as you can see the glow in their eyes. I did use that cop to kind of take advantage of breaking the car apart a little bit. But yeah, you can see, this is not easy because they're all feral, and we're on day 2. I'm running stone gear. That's not great. Now, here's also a good perk to why I endorse going for parkour. We wouldn't need to put down the second frame. Wouldn't have, putting the second and third frame to jump up on this little balcony here, or awning, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, here, as you can see, we really should not have messed with this cop car. I wanted to just because I'd never done it, so I figured, let's take a shot at it, see what happens. The main problem here is you can see I'm trying to focus down the police zombie. He will explode if you let him go, because you'll hear the heartbeat once he starts to get to low health. You can let him blow up. He does a decent amount of block damage. I prefer to kill him, because, 1200 XP if he's feral is great. 750 if he's not is still good. Sometimes cops can also drop different color loot bags, which will have different effects of loot. But yeah, as you can see, clearly when you have feral big boys here, the feral tourists, they are also a problem and a half to deal with. It's nice and, bullet spongy when you also have a gun that's pretty much just serving them up Twinkies on a silver platter. But, yeah, don't do anything like I'm doing. It's not the smartest move. I decided to just use this roof, and I figured, well, they're hopefully stuck on the corner. Go check the loot in the cop car. Well, why not? I went through this effort to get it. I might as well. Spoiler alert here, as you're going to see in a couple of seconds. The loot isn't really the best early on. Like, oh boy, an upgraded bow. Cool. I risked my life for a level 2 bow that I probably could craft in a couple of days. Now here, we deal with one of the most annoying status ailments in the game. One of. Not the most, but definitely one of. Fatigue. As you can see, our max HP has been cut down not a ton. 20 HP, it's not a huge amount, but it's, when you're in a fight, it is. But yeah, fatigue. And I didn't notice it for a second, but yeah. It's, plus you take more damage. It's just a bad time. Plus the fact it lasts 2 hours. Yeah, no good. Just get a vitamin if you have one. If you got one on hand, great. Cure it. Just makes life that much easier. And now we deal with, probably, if I had to rank the more annoying ones, fatigue would be number 2. A broken bone would be number 3. Kind of like a 2.5 would be a broken leg, but we got slightly, quote-unquote lucky that it was a broken arm. That just means fighting is going to be a nightmare. Like fighting, mining stuff, harvesting, it's going to be a problem. Just because we're going to start taking damage on power attacks. So, again, our health is lowered even further. Plus, you delay healing and you're getting hurt if you use power attacks, do anything crazy. That one at least you can cure with a splint, which isn't usually too hard to craft. I didn't have any glue on me to make duct tape, so that was my kind of major issue. So we just gotta deal with a broken bone, which, like I said, can make fighting a little bit more of a pain. But, honestly, not the end of the world here. As you can see, just clearing the dew collector. I usually recommend just grabbing that when you get done for the day, like when you go back home at night, clear stuff out. And then overnight, same thing like we said in the beginning. Get some cooking done, get some crafting done, organize your storage. As you can see, I made a couple extra boxes. Only thing to note is when you are cooking, you're going to need to make sure to keep in mind that you are raising the heat level around you, which is the way the game tracks like how certain things will spawn in. If you get your heat level too high, you're going to be potentially dealing with screamers. So make sure you're not putting down like 3 and 4 campfires unless you really want to fight. So it's gonna be a bit of a crawl. But as you can see here, I'm looking at the quests here, and we'll get, we got our splint crafted so we can get rid of that broken arm. Fatigue, you gotta just find a vitamin. It's a nightmare. But we also do have this farm plot block quest I'm trying to knock out here, which, now I'm regretting throwing away all that rotten meat, but, you know, hindsight 2020, I usually just don't carry rotten flesh early on because it just takes up space. It would be nice if, you know, if past me was smart enough to remember that, but, you know, not too crazy. And I know this, we didn't really cover a whole lot on day 2 here, but honestly, day 1 is where you hit the ground running as hard as you can. Days 2 through 5, like days 2, 3, and 4, you can kind of take it back a little bit and just play it as you need to. But we are close to getting the bicycle, so day, you know, spoiler alert, day 3 we're gonna get the bicycle, since we only need, I think, 3 more job points. And here, I'm just trying my luck, looting around, see if I can find... Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy Unchosen here, back for day 3 of 7 Days to Die for beginners here. Now, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but, you know, first few days here, we have one goal in mind, and that is clear out these jobs. So we're gonna be getting on rolling here, getting everything we possibly can here done. I do want to note here in the beginning, double looting a POI, I've talked about it in the last few videos. Definitely in these first weeks or so, especially while you're dealing with the easy POIs, take advantage of being able to loot an entire place. Later on, if you know where the end loot is in a POI, get to the end loot, loot it, start a job, double loot it. It just pays out, because you'll get that much more out of it. But while past me here is going through clearing out this POI to show you guys just how much loot you can get from this gas station, I do want to recommend, as you're going through and leveling up, make sure you're investing in the proper skills to help go through your actual skill tree. So I have the sledgehammer right now. I'm going to be investing more into the strength perk than most of the other perks. I'll go to the others just for like little odds and ends. Like we have our points for agility to get parkour. And I'll cover another perk later in the video. You'll see that I'll invest a few skill points into. But definitely, you know, if you're going knives, like, you know, knives, SMGs, pistols, go the agility route. If you're going rifles, bow and arrow, go perception. Batons and the traps and the turrets, go for the intellect build. But every perk has its own merit to investing in outside of just the main kind of crux to going through them. You can still just solely invest in them. I've done that in the past, which is very chaotic. But definitely make sure you're investing in things that help your playstyle and get everything going for your perks that you need, your weapons, your looting, everything you possibly want. Now, with regards to POIs, like I've mentioned, early game, definitely take advantage of just like a tier 1 place like this. You can go through and double loot it. It took me, I think, in the entirety of looting this, like 10 minutes at most. And you can do that really easily. Like, you know, especially overnight, I'd almost recommend if you're at your job limit, loot the place you're going to be at overnight. And then when the morning hits, if you really feel like doing it, you can do it all over again. If you don't want to double loot, you don't have to double loot. But here, as you can see, activating that job, reset all of the end loot, which we can just get all the goodies. Unfortunately, depending on the job, you are going to get the zombies to respawn, but, you know, it's a tier 1. This ain't going to be anything crazy. So we'll get our loot here, head on back direct, do all that fun stuff, because we are creeping in on the end of tier 1. And as you can see there, we finally got a nice pistol, so not too bad. We can finally use some of that 9mm. But definitely getting as fast as you can through tier 1, make that happen. I highly recommend it. I think usually by day 3 to 4 is when I'll finish tier 1. It makes a world of difference, and I'm going to cover that later in the video as to why it really makes a huge difference. But yeah, definitely just do everything you can to get tier 1 done. It may be a little bit of a grind, but in the early game, there's not really much else going on. But what's nice is once we're done with this grind, you know, days 4, 5, 6, and 7, we're going to change up a little bit. Not a ton, but, you know, add a little more in, but you'll see once we get down there. So, for now, you can tell I'm still getting a bunch of plastic because dew collectors are just insane in the early game. Once you get to the mid to late game, you probably won't need a ton of dew collectors. You'll probably still want to have a few on hand, but I recommend in the early game, get as much plastic as you can. Get it all going, because the more issues you can clear out, the better. So getting a bunch of dew collectors down now, if you can get 2, 3, maybe even 4, if they don't have any of the upgrades with them, just do it. Future you is going to love having all that extra water. Plus, like I've said before, you can have the campfire running while you're out. So if you've got 15 bottles of murky water that need to get cooked down, throw them things in the campfire, let them cook while you're out doing jobs, out looting, trying to find a place to set up a base, you know, do all that sort of stuff. But here, we're back at Wrecked. We got these rewards, which I was tempted to go the vitamins on this route, but I still stick to my guns and get the crafting skill magazine, because as much as the vitamins are an immediate help, the books are a better long-term goal. You can play it by ear. If you saw those rewards, you can play it however you feel. I typically wait to get the vitamins, because I usually find at least a few, but it's a little bit hit or miss if you're going to actually find anything you really need. So, and here we go, on to our next job, because this is going to be just another case of the garage has a workbench in it. I double looted. There's also a crate, which is nice, and also all these extra plastic parts, but yeah, just jobs, jobs, jobs. Get through it, get them done, makes life super simple. Now, you don't have to double loot, obviously optional, but I, again, highly recommend doing it because it's more loot, more stuff you can use. As you can see here, we did get our primitive armor to level 6. I believe that's like 1 or 2 more books, and we'll have the actual, like, the, you know, quote-unquote good armors unlocked at tier 1. I wouldn't go for the armors early on. Honestly, I don't really recommend crafting armors until you finish that whole armor series to get level 6 gear, which I'll cover level 6s as we get further in. Your first 7 days, the primitive stuff, the stone tools, that's all you're going to see level 6. And, you know, spoiler alert for a later video, I wouldn't bother crafting the level 6 stuff unless you're specifically doing a playstyle that only uses level, like, the primitive gear, the stone tools, and stone weapons. It's not worth it otherwise, in my opinion. It's just really not going to do you any good. But, as you can see, another job done for Wrecked, and I believe we are only 1 job away from finishing Tier 1. Here's a tempting choice between the 9mm and cobblestone. I lean towards the cobblestone just because you can use it for building, and in days 5 and 6, you'll see we'll finally get some use out of that cobblestone I've been stockpiling. Because you guys have seen how much I've been hoarding from all these job rewards, which 250 cobblestone sounds like a lot, but it really doesn't do much. And since I did notice we got a low level up here in between jobs, I do want to take a second here and talk about our perks. Going down the intellect route and getting this physician perk, I recommend getting that also very early, which, as you can see right here, splints and casts cure sprains instantly. Now note that's a sprain, not a break. You know, we talked about breaks and sprain, like the broken bones and fatigue in the last video. Getting a sprain is so annoying because it limits your stamina and it just persists and lasts so long. Having a splinter cast able to just instantly heal that is going to make life so good. And you're probably going to find a fair bit of splints, casts, a whole bunch of that as you go through the game, so ain't going to be anything too crazy to really worry about. But as you can see here, we got another job done. For me, this one was a no-brainer. I'm going to stick with the cobblestone because the 9mm would be the only thing I would go for. But tier 1 being complete, this reward is huge. As you can see, I'm freaking out because it's like, yeah, we got the bicycle. The rest of it really doesn't matter because you can get a forge fairly easily, which, even though I haven't done that yet, we have so, like, the filter for the water thing, purifiers, you don't really need those. It's not going to help you much. But, like I said, we do have the bicycle, which you cannot talk enough about how early you can get the bicycle and make life just that much easier for yourself. Number 1, it does have storage to it. Not a lot, but being able to carry a few extra things without being encumbered makes a huge difference. As you can see here, I think we have like, what, 10 slots of inventory on that? It's huge. You travel faster even without sprinting, and what's nice is, since I have a sprain, being able to use the bike and move faster without extending the duration on that sprain is huge, especially when we need to get over to our next set of areas here, which is the burned forest biome. I'm not going to spend too much time here today, just because it is hour 18, so I don't want to get caught out, but as you can see, burn victims, there's a whole lot of wood between these dead trees, the coal, you'll get a lot, but that's not really why we're here. We are here to check out the second trader down the line here, Trader Jen. Now, each trader also specializes in a different field. Jen specializes in medicine, Wrecked specializes, I believe, in food, and there's other traders down the line you'll meet that specialize in weapons, tools, vehicles, etc. Like, you'll see more of them as you play later into the game. I'm not going to be able to really go through them in this, because tier 2 is probably the highest we're going to get to in these first 7 days. But here, as you can see, we're going over and just looting the chem station, workbench, forge, everything she's got here. As you can see, we also unlocked the forge, so that is a very, very nice upgrade to get. Especially in the early game. Again, it's the little things you can do to go as far in as you can. But since we got Trader Jen here, it just makes life that much easier. Opens up tier 2 jobs, which tier 2 jobs are harder than the tier 1 jobs, but theoretically they should pay out better rewards. Whether they do or not, it's kind of up to, you know, personal preference and a bit of RNG. But I usually go through here, get the few books that are sitting on the ground, loot those workbenches, and obviously then, once we're done here, we'll go talk to Jen. She does also have vending machines, like every trader has, so you can buy candies and buy stuff if you want to be in a, you know, if you want to hang around Dr. Jen, and, you know, both of her pretty big discounts she has there right out in front of everybody. This is definitely an interesting spot. So, I do recommend checking the traders, because the more traders you can get access to easily, the better it's going to be, just in the long haul, because you have access to more loot, have access to more stuff. You can also sell different things to traders, like if Rect won't buy something because he's got too much of it, you can try going to Jen. Yo, what is going on, guys? It's your boy Unchosen here, back for day 4 of 7 Days to Die for Beginners. Now, as you can see with this series, we've been doing quite a bit of jobs between both traders Jen and Rect. Honestly, that's probably my biggest piece of advice, is do as many jobs as you can. Keep that progression going. Do what you gotta do. Typically, I would not recommend doing jobs at night unless you are, 1, extremely bored, or 2, just really got nothing else going on. We'll go over what you can do better on the nights as we get a little more into this, but as you can see here, we're doing another job here. I believe it's a tier 2 job that we saved over from day 2, or day 3. Technically going into 4, but it's not the end of the world here. Again, always loot these mailboxes, because the books can be pretty nice. You see we got a vehicle book and one of the Art of Mining books. But definitely jobs, jobs, jobs. Get these jobs going. Number 1, if you're not done with tier 1 by day 4, that's kind of an issue unless you've been doing other things, but realistically, just focus the jobs. Number 2, you get that bike for tier 1 complete as soon as possible. I was gonna say, I think a vulture was 54 there, but that's fine. Now, this is a little bit risky to do a night job because you're more likely to run into feral zombies and distracted zombies. You're making a lot of noise. Everyone gets louder. As you can see, we do got a big boy down there. If big boys are tanking up during the day, if he happens to be feral, God help you, melee is not gonna save you. At least not until you can, you know, lock yourself in, but you chew through doors like fucking Twinkies. Trust me, it's not worth the fight. And as you can see, we have the fastest feral zombie in the game. One thing she's still the fastest is Feral Arlene. You can see here, I'm checking having parkour leveled up to level 2. Parkour, not jumping up and down the stairs. Probably been hiding in the door. Yeah, so Arlene with those glowing eyes. So as you can see, you know, the sledgehammer's not really doing the best, but this goes to show that being prepared is definitely for the better, because, yeah, this fight took a little bit longer than I wanted to, because as much as I would have loved to have just started the job and go for it, you know, we got no choice here. Just pray that we take out Arlene without taking too big a grief. So yeah, this was fun. And yeah, I left this fight in for, you know, the full, unedited experience of dealing with it. Just heard that basketball dude on the garage. A little bit weird, you know, weird flex, but okay. Really, like, really just, you want to get doing as many jobs as you can. And even though we're getting bored and we are going to need to start getting, like, an actual base I'm not too worried, because we still have those 5, 6, and 7. Because the hoard doesn't show up until hour 20, like 7, unless you change your settings, obviously. But if you're running default like I am, day 7, that's your big night, and you can see we finally took down Big Boy here. Took long enough to get this going. But yeah, now we're here actually getting the supplies for this job. And we
I'd shake your hand, but I bet you got
one. So we'll go talk to Old Man Rack.
the way you smell.
If we did have dysentery, I'd probably have taken those vitamins.
Let's get one thing straight. You're not working with me. You're working for me.
So usually the way that I will take this is the way I'll play it is you go daytime jobs, nighttime base building, or resource grinding. doing anything like that. But as you can see, we got a level up here. We're going to go into intellect, and I haven't invested in this perk yet. But lockpicking is huge. As I know I mentioned it earlier on in the series of reading the Forge Ahead books of not going to 15. Now, it doesn't say anywhere in here, because the devs didn't include the little line of the Forge Ahead books.
I've got goods.
Lockpicking does
knew you
boost
had it in
up
you.
until
Good
level
work.
15. I think it's level 3 that it says it. So we did that job for Jen there, which is another one of the tier 2s. For this one, I believe I take the Molotovs.
No syntax.
Molotovs, it's a nice throwable weapon, it's damage, it's good for the Horde. But, yeah, we are pretty much, like, usually I'll go Cobblestone, the books, and then ammo and throwables as kind of like the next setup in there. But, yeah, as I was trying to say, with lockpicking, definitely keep that in the early game, get it to level 15, and, like, 14 to 15. If you don't find a 15th book, don't worry about it, but invest in lockpicking, get it to 14, and just sit on that. Don't read any more books past that, because once you go past 15,
Thanks for letting me take care of you. And be sure to tell your friends.
Getting the lockpicking bonus that gives you more Forge Ahead books. As you can see here, I'm kind of like carefully reading it. And we're only at level 12, not too bad. But another perk as we are on day 4 here, and when you hear that sound, that means the airdrops are coming in. Now the airdrops, they're kind of hit or miss. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. I recommend, if you've got the time and you've got the bicycle already, go get it. Because they usually spawn within a few hundred meters of where you're at initially. But you can see this box here lighting up. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. They're usually good for, used to be good for meds. Like console build, you'd get meds. Here, we got a Forge Ahead book, which is great. Another book bundle, which gave us 2 more Forge Aheads. But that claw hammer, if you're building your own base, or doing really any construction work, the claw hammer is insanely good. Not as good as a nail gun, but still very, very good. Now you see here, I'm looking at the book, and I'm like, do I have lockpicking leveled up to level 3? No, I don't. But that's fine. Keep running what you do. Honestly, if you can get lockpicking to 3, great. If not, don't worry about it. I think I read this book, get to 15, because 15 is the
Is there
peak
something?
you can go for that
Well,
bonus.
I guess I'm gonna have to pay you
And,
now
that's just
that you
smart
did
too.
it.
No, we're doing more jobs here. Like I said, daytime, get those jobs done during the day. Just keep rocking out, doing what you do. Honestly, getting jobs done progressively.
Well, I got just a job. I'd say it's been an honor. My shop, my rules. Be careful out there. You wouldn't want to get hurt.
You can get a guaranteed, like if you get the book bundle, you get a guaranteed 6 set of books. You're getting potentially ammo, potentially weapons, usually some throwables. And as you can hear the lovely music here, this is the next part we're going to go over. We're starting day 5 actually, because I figured day 4 didn't do much outside of jobs. We'll do a 2-parter in this one here. Do a 2-for-1 deal of base building. You see I've upgraded my tools because the stones tools are, another word that starts with S. But yeah, not the best. But since we do have some mods and stuff, I figured I'll get the shovel going. We'll do some base building here, as usually I would do this. Typically, the way I build my base, during the day, get the structure setup that you want to do if you're going to go completely from scratch, just because it's safer than doing it all at night. But once you have the framework laid out for your base, then you can start working more at night to enhancing it, making it better. Plus, when you're doing the work at night, there's also a chance that you'll be able to test, quote-unquote, test out your base against any potential zombies to see any weaknesses that may be there. Blocks need to be changed out, if anything needs to be upgraded. Typically, for the first fortnight, you shouldn't really need to go far past, like, maybe a 2 blocks thick of cobblestone. But as you can see here, I'm just digging out the foundation, as this is also something I recommend. If you're building your base from scratch, strictly, like, dig at least 1 block down into the dirt, and replace everything with your own blocks. As you can see, that top layer of dirt only has 250 health. So it's not the most durable to go through, whereas even if you just put a wood block down there, it's so much stronger than the wood. You're not going to have to worry about cop zombies exploding, zombies beating through it rather quickly, because sometimes they'll just swing down for no reason. And you can see that we got a free snake. But yeah, you can see this claw hammer speeds through upgrading all of this, because the stone axe, I believe, is 4 hits to upgrade a block. The hammer is just a 2 hit to get it from the frame to wood. So nice. It makes life that much easier. Now, what I'm going to do with this base is, since I am running a sledgehammer build, I am going to be going with the semi-tried and true hatch hallway. It's probably not necessarily the cheesiest base you could do, because there's obviously more cheesy bases that if you see me stream it, you've definitely seen some pretty cheese bases. But honestly, for this early horde, you don't need too much. You go maybe 3-4 blocks high, probably get a roof on just in case there are vultures. I don't think there's too likely to run into vultures. But yeah, if nothing else, just go maybe 2-3 blocks high, get the foundation laid out here. This is also why I grab all that cobblestone when we're doing those jobs, because 10 cobblestone upgrades 1 block, which significantly buffs the health of that block, and improves structural integrity. But for now, we'll leave it at this. We don't need to do too much more for the base than this. We'll probably need to get some resources later, plus my guy is also hungry,
Wipe
so
that
I'll probably
smirk
stop
off
back
your
at the base and
face.
get some
Doing
food.
one job
But since it is
doesn't
also
make
day
us
5,
pals.
you know what we're
Got it.
doing. Turning the job from yesterday. Keep cranking out the jobs. Just work,
Listen up, jackass.
work.
You
Get those
better not
rewards,
fuck this up.
that money,
You again?
keep the progression
What?
going.
You got a fucking crush
Now
on
with
me or
this place,
something?
O'Malley Oats. This is where I'm going to make a note of an interesting thing that can happen with some POIs, is what are known as fixed spawns. So no matter what, there will always be at O'Malley Oats, this top layer here, that soldier is always going to be there. He's always feral. So if you are not prepared, do not take on this fight. Personally, I don't think I should have taken on this fight, but I'm leaving the whole fight in here so you guys can see just how bulky he is. Like, even with the sneak damage headshot of the bow, it's not the best here. Like, he's still got that arrow in him. I made the mistake of opening the door when I meant to grab the arrow, but yeah, not the easiest. So figure, use the knife to get the bleed effect, use these doors to your advantage, and just go to town. There's a hole in here, there's a hole in the door like this. You can try to stab him through it. Typically I wait until the hole is bigger, but since I can stab him right here, bleed effect going, get as much damage as you can, but he is so dang tanky. It's insane. I made the soldiers, a feral soldier's way too much. For a tier 2 POI, that's really just excessive in my opinion. How strong he really is. That's definitely a risk to reward. As you can see here, also making sure you keep an eye on the health of whatever door, step, hatch, whatever you're using to block off. I don't have any forged iron. I see the door's getting low, so let's just get out of here. Maybe I can hopefully cheese him on the desks, but I think what I end up doing is he gets stuck on those little, like, broken frame pieces up there. I think, yeah, he sets himself on fire, as you can hear, which I don't know how those set him on fire and not me. But since we got a suppressor on the nice little pipe machine gun here, which honestly, I don't recommend using a suppressor for a situation other than this, unless you're playing a stealth build. The suppressor's still not even that great. But yeah, he's gonna take pot shots at him. He'll just keep lighting himself on
You're
fire.
not bringing counterfeit money in here, are you?
But that's the end of that job. Turn that into Old Man Wrecked.
What the hell do you want this
So you might want to do
time?
some research on the POIs if you do want to see any fixed ones, so you know what you're getting yourself into. But I just recommend doing the jobs. Concrete mix, as you see, I sold a little bit of it there.
Much, and now
you can keep it
can
if you
go
want. If you're
fuck
playing past
yourself.
7 days, you'll definitely need it for building. But for me, since we're only doing first 7 days in this series, we don't need more than cobblestone.
If you
I'm not
want a
investing
job,
crazy.
get moving, jackass.
You
This
can
don't
also
pay
do
by
tier 1
the
jobs
hour.
if there's nothing good nearby to do for like tier 2 jobs, or if they're all just jobs you don't feel like doing. I typically stay to the tier 2s just because they're more worth it. Also to be wary of is vehicle explosions. As you can see, zombies will just start bashing on vehicles. I don't know how long he was beating on that forklift, but you know, clearly he set it up so just in the right time I'd be standing next to him when it went off. So gotta be a little bit
didn't we
wary of
agree
that.
Your first job was going to be
Something else
free?
to also consider with
Damn.
your base, if
This
you're
is-
wondering,
Take a look
you
at
see
the
we got a
shit
bunch of
I
wood
got,
there as a
but don't
reward.
expect me to cook it
Probably
for
could
you.
have taken the wood instead of the Molotovs, because I have a decent amount of the Molotovs at home, but we'll just keep doing jobs. You know how it be. Just keep
Well,
going,
wipe
job,
that
job,
smirk
job.
off your face. Doing
Once you see
one
that red
job doesn't
exclamation
make us
mark
pay. You
on the
break
side
any
there,
of my shit,
you know you've done
you're
the job for
paying
today, which
double.
feels kind of good anyway, because we're getting close to night. But
cheap
typically these
ass
early
son
days,
of a bitch.
at night you want
That's
to
all
typically
you're gonna
just
buy?
lock yourself in. If you got any ammo you can craft, do it. Like get some arrows, make some food. But we're just gonna spend the rest of night 5 here, just working on the base, get it up to that next level. I did start running out of wood, so you can see I do a little jump cut here to getting more wood. Which, if if you're gonna need to build your own base, keep those tree seeds, plant them down, and you see the trees growing to the left of the bar, restaurant, whatever you want to call it, where we set up home base. Put down some tree seeds, let them grow, and build up. It also helps because we have that book that gives us the chance to get honey from trees. So you can kind of do a little bit of wood farming, tree farming, and a little bit of honey farming. So it helps out being, very multi-purposed. Now, if you're not going to build your own base, obviously this stuff doesn't really matter to you, but I figured it's good enough to really boost you up in your early game. Late game, it can get very chaotic, but if you're going to build a base concept that works early on, you can just keep expanding it, and nothing changes. Like, you just, for the base we're building, yeah, the hatch hallway is probably going to be a spiral down on the first floor, and I might just make it a ladder up to the second floor. Just keep it going if I really pushed it further out. Or if the building gets completely destroyed, we build a new concept and go from there. But yeah, with that squad, I'm going to wrap things up here. If you guys did enjoy the video, do YouTube stuff down below. It really does help out. Days 6 and 7 are going to still be pretty interesting. But yeah, this will be good enough for now. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Unchosen back for day 7 of 7 Days to Die for Beginners. Yes, we are skipping day 6, mostly because it would have just been the same soup reheated, nothing new. Just doing jobs, getting supplies, doing what we can. And as you can see here at the start here, you hear by that Home Depot music, we are doing a lot of just base building, tearing these trees down. Because we are on day 7. The hoard is coming up very, very soon. So this base needs to be as prepped as it can be. Replanting the trees is always a smart thing to do, so that way keep the supplies going. Also for hoard night, if you're not rather over-prepared than under-prepared, this base probably needs a fair bit of work, but honestly right now I think having ramp blocks here would probably be good enough for the outside of the base. But with that work done for now, we need to get cobblestone.
Look who
Best
decided
way we're
to
doing
show
that,
the face
jobs,
again.
jobs. Drop off our junk at wrecked,
Shit,
do some
man.
work,
I treat
get some
sell
money,
it. There's
get that
the fucking
inventory.
door. Why don't you use
As you
it?
can tell, I clearly forgot to grab a job from him the first couple of times around, but all these tier 2 jobs are a bit too far out of the way from my comfort zone to be able to get them done to come back in time for the Horde. So we'll do a few tier 1 jobs here to get some fetch quests
Can't
done.
say I'm not
But
surprised.
easy, nice and easy.
Good luck, kid.
And you can hear zombies beating on the wall outside. They're not important. But we got this courier satchel here. Easy clap for the first job. Mostly I'm doing this job to get the, if we can get cobblestone from him,
Put
that'd be
away your
great.
weapon.
If we can
Unless
get
you'd
ammo,
like to
it's
die
better.
in my store.
But
Great.
realistically, I want as much
Here you
cobblestone as
go.
we can because we're going to
Don't
need to be
spend it all in
upgrading
one
a
place.
ton of blocks. Now here, pipe bomb probably would be the smart solution, but looking long term, that pistol Pete book having 9mm weapons degrades slower is just better to have on hand. Like, if you're going to be playing for a long time,
Name's not important.
I know
Don't just
that book is
stand
the
there.
main
When you
one I
break
know that
any of
has like
my
a
shit,
specific
you're
weapon type
paying
degrades
double.
slower. But honestly, finishing off those books is just a huge thing to go for. And we're going to scoop these forge aheads, even though probably in this series we won't read them unless you guys want me to go past day 7. But, we'll see how things play out from there. But, we're just here getting jobs, doing what we can, looking to see if we got anything good in here. I mean, the engine's nice. Those pickaxes and tools are pretty cool, but we don't really need tools that bad. You can go, like, break those tan rocks to get stone. You can get clay soil just by digging the dirt. So you could get your own clay, like get your own cobblestone that way, but I like to get it from jobs because you get it in bulk, and it just makes life that much easier when you get 25 blocks just handed to you for doing a quick job. Now with this POI, something that's interesting that I forgot to note the first time around when I must have passed by here. I should have done it before activating the job, but in this little pit here, if you break that metal plate, you can see there's an ammo box. Definitely good to get. You don't need to break that wood panel, I was being dumb. But there's a free munitions box just there at the Crow residence. You might as well just get it. No reason not to. If you pass by, scoop it. And that's the thing, once you learn the POIs, you'll know which ones are good for easy loot, which ones are good for regular loot. Arlene here took a nice, sledge to the hammer. Sledge to the head.
Didn't we agree?
Make it nice and simple.
What do you want?
But here, as you can see, we got Molotovs and pipe bombs. I lean towards Molotovs instead of pipe bombs, just because Molotovs have a larger,
up, jackass.
a longer lasting
moving,
effect
jackass.
compared to
Just don't pay
pipe
my
bombs.
So, I sell to anyone, even
burn effect
morons
I
like you. Shit,
yeah.
man, I treat you
Go
that
either way.
good,
Depends on how
and
you
you
want to
don't
play it.
even
I
fucking
lean towards
tip me.
Molotovs. Here we go. Got another job. In and out. This place, although I believe this is a cook resident. Yeah, the cook's residence here does have a nice little tree stump out here that you can regen with the job. So definitely worth checking out. As you can see, I was a little hesitant to think if that was in range, but yeah, it was. So if you get honey, nice tree stump in range, take it, get that honey, take out that dude in the meth suit, and run on back to the next job. But before that job, you hear that airplane coming in. We got ourselves a supply drop to go get, which, you know, it doesn't seem like it'll be too crazy far to get, so we might as well just go get it. Get whatever we can. Nice little crafting skill bundle. A wrench is definitely good to get. Grilled corn, it's free food. We can't really complain. And they gave you a bottle of water too, so it's not too bad. But let's get these books read. A little bit more progress. Didn't get any new recipes, unfortunately. But
well, look here,
doing what we
boys.
do. And
We
as
got
you know, we
ourselves
take
a
the
real
crafting
life
skill
hero.
bundle.
And now,
So here
I
I'm
got
going to
work
take
to
the
do.
buried
Good
supply
luck.
jobs for a tier
Better
2.
take a look at the shit
Just
I got.
because
But
it'll
don't
be a
expect me
little
to
bit
cook
better
it for you.
than going for the tier 1 jobs. Springs, I do not sell springs. You can't craft them, and they are a pain to find when you need them the most. So trust me.
Thank you very much. And now
You're going to want to keep them on hand. Yeah, I guess I didn't do a great job at editing out this pause.
go fuck
So,
yourself.
yeah, life got in the way. But here, for a higher tier 2 job like this, I would definitely recommend building at least somewhat of a structure. You don't need to go crazy upgrading it to, like, you know, concrete or nothing, but just so this way you've got at least something on hand that you can use to get through. And here I forgot my shovel at home, but was able to craft one up kind of quick. Otherwise, this job would have really sucked. And luckily enough, we found the buried supplies pretty fast. Grab the loot, don't even got time to read the schematics, and then struggle to jump up on top of this block. But yeah, as you can see, buried supplies, they are going to spawn in at least a few zombies that do start moving right towards your location. So, best to be at least a little prepared. Now here, unfortunately, I think we're a little too tall, so we can't really reach. But we know how to fix that problem. You know, nice little suppressed pipe pistol to the head should do some damage. But yeah, again, it's mostly just making sure you're managing your time, taking advantage of what you got available to you. Yeah, probably would have been slight. I mean, that's the thing. It's just the one half dozen the other. If you're gonna be better off doing jobs, or better off just mining for resources. So you gotta pick and choose your battles there. Now, sometimes these jobs are nice and quick, like this one was. Other times, not so much. Typically, like I avoid buried supplies just because they're not the best jobs.
If you got, I'd shake your hand.
But then again, we get to
I bet
here,
you got
another crafting skill bundle. You know we're taking it.
smell.
Because we can get better gear, better stuff.
What the hell do you want
Plus, we
this
have the one we didn't
time?
breed from the last job, or, you know, the chest. But, so, let's do that as I'm trying to see if I got anything to sell.
Cheap ass son of a bitch.
2 skill points to spend there, which I will spend probably, I think I put one into Miner 69er and the other into Motherload, just to make getting this base done a little bit easier. Now, we did cut a little bit of the base work out, as I did put those little corner bars on there. I do recommend, if you're going to build a base like this, I recommend putting bars as an edge around an upper elevated area, just so that way you can also go outside and look at where the zombies are beating on the walls, because you never know, sometimes they might get stuck on the walls. But, as per usual before the horde, I should have taken that suppressor off the pistol, but oh well. Getting all our guns loaded up. I made a pipe shotgun because we have a decent amount of shotgun ammo. The pipe shotgun normally sucks, but in this situation, why not? I went to go check if there was any mods, like a grip mod or something in the stone axe we could use, but nothing on hand. Pop those vitamins, keep a drink on hand with all those Molotovs, because you're probably going to set yourself on fire for anything like me. And as I'm just looking around waiting for the horde to start here, it's nothing too crazy. You know, you can tell horde night because everything goes red. But now we got zombies inbound, and this is where I like the Molotov, because you can get the zombies nice and grouped up, torch them out. But as you can see, hatch hallway doing what it should be doing, keeping the zombies back, keep them at bay while we're able to continually smack them to smithereens with the hammer. Take some skulls out. You know how it is, you see all that XP popping in. Could be better if we had a skullcracker candy. This would definitely be huge, because that buffs your melee damage. Coffee's nice because it's going to keep our stamina coming back in, but you do got to be wary every once in a while of the zombies. You see them sometimes getting through. If I was to change this base, I probably would get the bars that are lowered, like the centered bars, just so that way the zombies probably aren't as likely to jump over. Or at least putting maybe a pole across the front there. And yep, there's the Molotov setting me on fire. It's usually best to kind of wait until the ground effect is done with the Molotov, because the zombies will burn longer than the ground. So, yep, there we go again, out of Molotov, but at least I got the yucca. And as you can see, the first hatch is gone, so definitely need to make sure you're keeping an eye on repairs. And I know I could hear the zombies kind of behind me beating on things, so that's why I was a little more needing to throw the hatch up in the back just in case. Because as you can tell, I really went heavy and lined this base with as many things as I possibly could. Get all these hatches on the ground, because hatches are honestly way better than anybody could give them credit for. So it's definitely worth putting at least a few hatches in. You don't have to. You could always use bars instead, but I like doing hatches because that way you can still walk through that opening. You know, if you need to move through, it'd be good to go. But yeah, all in all, Horde Night was nothing too crazy. As you can see, it's kind of winding down a little bit. It kind of throws me off. Some days the hordes go ridiculously long, other days they are just stupid short. But you can see the respawn, like, you know, the waves coming in are slowing down. Definitely make sure when you're going for Horde Night, pack tools or whatever you need to repair your weapons. Because right now, I can see that pipe machine gun is almost out of health, and as you can tell there, it's, you know, now it's broken. I didn't bring any pipes. I think I left those pipes back at base, but this is the last zombie to kill. So, day 7 success. So yeah, nothing too crazy. I mean, Horde Night was fairly simple, got a bunch of loot to go through. But that is where we wrap things off here. 'Cause honestly, the series was fun to put together, of like a nice little tutorial to help you guys get through the first 7 days. If you have any advice for how to improve it, always down for it. Obviously, as you can tell in the top right, we're on version 1.3. So there's probably going to be changes with days to come, with updates, all that fun stuff. But yeah, honestly, it's pretty fun. If you guys do want to see me going into like the next round of the Horde, going into days 8 through 14, we can always do that. I would change this base a little bit, probably add another wall on the outside to make it extra thick so the zombies can't as easily do it. Maybe also go another block up. But honestly, I'd say this base did pretty good. It did what it needed to do. It held off the first Horde, kept us alive. Some better work on hatch repair would have been nice, but all in all, not too bad. As you can see, a lot of books, a lot of stuff we can sell. But yeah, honestly, we did fairly good for this Horde. I'm surprised we didn't get infected, knowing my luck, but I also figured I'd be burning to death. Definitely could have played a little bit differently, but all in all, we survived, no issues. Like, you know, realistically, the zombies had a couple of close calls, but nothing really too crazy. Probably could have packed more food and drink, probably could have made more food and drink, but, you know, not terrible. Usually Horde Night you'll get kind of restocked with some of the ammo you use, but I almost say if you go to Horde, kind of pick 1, maybe 2 weapons to use for the Horde. Me using everything definitely spreads my resources a bit thin for the next coming week, but we'll see what happens. You know how it be. We can do jobs. We got, 7 days to get for the next Horde. So, with that squad, we'll wrap things up here while I repair the base. So, if you did enjoy this series, do the YouTube stuff down below. It really does help out, You may not think it, but it does. Because definitely it lets me know if you guys want to see more of this in the future, if you want to see different types of videos, different types of bases. I'm tempted to revisit an idea that I've had before, that I did a while ago, of trying to survive a week using only one specific skill tree. So if you guys do want to see me bring that series back, I can definitely do it, because I've got a few custom base ideas that are different from this. Totally unique ideas we can try to put together. But let me know down below. And while you're down there, if you do want to check out the link to the Twitch channel, because we are streaming over on Twitch fairly often, like 4 to 5 days a week, depending. Probably by the time you're seeing this, we'll be playing The Forest, Stardew Valley, and then every other week I'm going to be doing a Pokemon Versus with my buddy Kelly there. So that'll be interesting enough to keep some variety going. If while you're down there, go ahead and check out the Discord server, join that, stay up to date with everything that goes live. With that, I'm going to get up out of here. You guys have a good one. I'll catch you in the next series. See ya.